Thank you so much for coming to Good Day New York. So I remember as a kid, my family taking me to Kingston and thinking, I feel like this place is frozen in time. Like, you know, everything seemed very, very old. And then, of course, there was not a lot there. It was a lot of dilapidated buildings and something that you guys put together in this documentary you have.
Kingston had boomed in the mid-19th century. It was a port, particularly this area, which is on the waterfront, called Rondout. A lot of the bricks, the cement, the bluestone that built New York City went through this port. But by the early 20th century, it was a backwater. You know, it was replaced by the car. It was based on river traffic, the railroad, and when the car came in, it became sort of obsolete economically. So the area we're talking about, which was mostly 19th century buildings, just kind of fell into a decline, but it was still a very viable neighborhood. It was the poor part of Kingston. We interviewed about 40 people and many former residents. It was ethnically and racially diverse. It was integrated. It had 90 businesses. You know, people still shopped at the corner store. A lot of people didn't have cars. So when the city decided that the area would be torn down with federal dollars, it was devastating for people because thousands of people had to move out, and some people, particularly African Americans, large families, could not find housing outside the area.
Wow. Stephen, so in this documentary, you talk about how basically it took a long time to get Kingston back up on its feet. Why did it take so long?
Well, it was basically bad planning. What I find interesting about this film is that it's a microcosm of what happened all over the country. So this is just a perfect example to see what people can relate to in Philadelphia, in New York, in the South Bronx, where they built the Cross Bronx Expressway, and projects, these type of things where there was federal money, everyone was hopeful to do something. And Kingston, they happened to say, well, let's tear everything down. They didn't really have a full plan to follow it through, and that's what happened.
Let's take a quick look at the documentary right now. Lost Rondout, a story of urban removal.
Everywhere you could see a circle with a line through it, spray painted on, and it was like this sort of negative Passover. You know, like these were the things that were going to be torn down.
They knocked them down like several a week. I mean, there were hundreds and hundreds of buildings, and it were literally thousands of people that were being dislocated. They weren't relocated.
Going through this whole thing of why are they tearing the buildings down, you know, where are we gonna go? Many people called it urban removal.
Once the buildings were torn down, the new developers failed to arrive.
If I had been a city father in the 1960s, I might well have voted in favor of urban renewal. But with perfect hindsight, it was a terrible mistake.
So I think everybody should see this and then go to Kingston, because this time of year in Kingston is gorgeous. And Lynn, you were telling me it's like Brooklyn, Kingston.
Yeah, well, I think what happened was half the neighborhood was torn down. You could see from that photograph, the other half was abandoned and slowly came back. Took many decades, but artists started buying up the spaces. You can get a building for $3,000. So fast forward, now the part that's left, there are businesses, it's revived. It's still an issue having big empty lots and townhouses on the other side. But yeah, like half of Brooklyn is moving to Kingston.
Wow. Yeah, it's probably the most affordable part of the place in our area, right?
And also I think there's an irony because the whole idea of urban renewal was to bring in big development, big housing projects, shopping malls, and really it was the small scale of Kingston, the older buildings, that's what attracted people. So ironically, it's what they were trying to destroy that brought it back. In a way, we're fortunate they didn't rebuild, because now we can hopefully build on a scale that's appropriate for this city.
Thank you so much for being here, Stephen, Lynn.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.